And you're welcome back to The Pulse. The Electricity Company of Ghana says it is working to restore power to Wejagbawe in the Greater Accra region. The area has been cut off the national grid for days now owing to the overflow of the Denso River, which flooded several homes, displacing well over 1,000 persons in the area. The Electricity Company of Ghana is this afternoon indicating that it's working around the clock to restore power supply. So let's get to it now. Let's bring in Fred Bimble Johnson, who happens to be Accra West PRO for the ECG. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. First of all, how was the ECG affected as a result of this flooding we witnessed in the Gan South area?
Well, since Tuesday, the 4th of October, we've been having reports from some residents that their areas were flooded. And so once these reports came in, we sent our men onto the field to have a look at it. And the technical decision was taken to curtail power supply to these areas. Now, primarily, it was for two reasons: to safeguard lives and property, and also to make sure that our installations in these areas are also safe. So since Tuesday, some areas have been off. And by virtue of the fact that areas now don't have access to power to use, it means that in terms of our revenue collection as a company, we are losing out. We are not able to make money from the power that people would otherwise have used and paid for. And also, we have some areas where, for our ground-mounted transformers, we have the areas around which they are flooded. And so some of our ground-mounted transformers are sitting in flood waters. But as of yet, we've not been able to have access to these places to fully assess what the damage is. And so we await. However, power has been curtailed from these transformers to the various places they were serving.
Let's get to the issue about the cost. Are you able to tell us how much you've lost so far as a result of this flooding in the area?
Well, currently, we are not talking numbers. Like I said, our immediate goal is to make sure that as much as possible, the power we are already supplying to our customers is safe. And so areas there will be a challenge. Don't forget that, water is a very good conductor of electricity. So we're all aware of what the dangers could be if there are flood waters and then any of our lines either drop in there or there's access to electricity and there's any challenge. So our main objective now is to make sure that lives and property are safe, that there's no risk to them. Then once we move forward and we're able to deal with the immediate problems, we shall look at the numbers. But certainly, because people in these areas now are not using electricity and therefore are not paying for the electricity they are not using, it means that we are losing out in terms of revenue. And so it's a loss to the company. But comparing that to the lives and property that would have been at risk, I believe that that's a safer choice to make. So yes, we are on the losing end, but then because we are trying to safeguard lives and property, we are better off doing that than the alternative.
Fred, I'm equally interested, for instance, in your equipment. A lot of them may have been distracted. Are you able to, a lot of them may have been destroyed as a result of the flooding. Are you able to tell us some of the equipment that have been damaged as a result of this flooding? And what are you able to tell us as to the exact reason for which the entire area is being taken off the national grid?
Yes, so I mentioned earlier that we had some opinion leaders and some local political leaders about the levels of water that was rushing into their communities to do technical assessments, and we realized that it was safer for us to put off power so that the various relief measures and the various measures that are being put in place are handled. Now, the assessment so far has shown that for some areas, the water levels are receding. And so we've been able to restore supply to a couple of communities that were initially off. We are still doing some further assessment today. And hopefully by the close of the day, if we get the green light, we shall be putting some other areas on as well. As a company, don't forget that it's the electricity that we sell. And it's in our interest if more people get access to electricity and use it, because it's only by using and by paying that we make some money. But we are not prepared to do this at the expense of life and property. So that's been the consideration so far. And we are working very closely with the National Disaster Management Organization, that's NADMO, and other agencies on the field. So as and when we get the green lights that it's safer to extend supply to some areas, we would do so and extend supply to them.
Let's now get to the official reason why there's been a blackout in the area. What are you able to tell us on that?
So for now, for the areas which are off purely because of the water levels in their communities, we are monitoring. Like I said, we are working with the NADMO, and so at regular intervals, we get updates on what the levels are. We also send our technical men onto the field, and so we get to see and do an assessment. So for these areas, once the water levels recede to levels that will be safe for us to restore supply to them, we will. Now, the other areas where supply is given by our ground-mounted transformers. And I mentioned that these transformers now, some of them are sitting in water. So we would have to do a certain technical assessment of the state of the transformers when the waters have receded to a certain level. So for those areas where the transformers are in water, we'll need some time, because once the water levels go down, it means the technical team has to go in there, do an assessment and check whether it's good enough to immediately restore supply from those transformers, or we'll need to do some technical works on them to get them to the levels where they can supply power to our cherished customers.
Now, to the issue about safety, because obviously you're restoring power in a few hours from now. In fact, some of the areas are already active. There's the question about safety, because when you have the floodwaters receding, some homes may still have elements of water still on the compound, and in the wake of that, there are concerns about some lines tripping and others falling into some of these receding waters, which may raise issues about the safety for many who are household consumers. So how is the ECG going about the issue of creating awareness on safety and the very cautious way by which many can restore power into their homes?
Educational programs with the various communities is something that's always ongoing. We have this interactions with the various assemblymen and the various communities. Now, because we took off power as a result of safety concerns, what it means is that before we can restore, we would engage the various communities, and together with the other allied agencies, NADMO, the Ghana National Fire Service, and all who are on the ground and working, we're able to communicate well to the communities before power is restored. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are some communities that currently may not necessarily have high water levels or high flood levels, but there's a technical team that does the assessment. So it's only when we get the green light that it's safe enough for us to restore power that we do so. So before power comes back into any community, often we engage them, let them be aware of what to do. And we have hotlines available that anyone who is in any distress or anyone who sees anything can call on. First, for the districts, that's the Botiano district under which this area falls, is available. And also call center line, which is 0302-611-611. Once you're in any distress, once you come across anything which is of danger, please alert us so we can get the technical team in to deal with the situation.
All right then. And we'll have to leave it here. Fred Bimble Johnson, thank you for your time here on the call.